Yeah, our workspace here keeps getting smaller and smaller. We're just down to the corner of the table, but working on changing the ride height on the Pinto, and I came up with a new idea. And part of the idea is I need a 5/8 inch spacer. So just happen to have a piece of 5/8 aluminum bar stock. Imagine that. We don't throw anything away here. I don't know if you can see what that says. 97 Delara front ride height drill jig right hand side out. So we don't have a 97 Delara anymore, so we can sacrifice this block. But basically, we're going to put a shim in between the rear spring hanger and the body to try to raise the car up. So here's the rear spring hanger that bolts to the car. We're going to set that on there, take our transfer punch and mark those two holes, drill those two holes, cut that off, and Bob's your uncle.
Okay, so it got dark in the middle of our project. But basically what we're doing here, try to raise this car up a little bit, is we're gonna, the upper perch for, let me figure where my finger is, for the shackle bolts right here. And what we're gonna do is put a spacer in there and drop that mount down a little bit. Now it should have the same effect as a longer shackle without doing the longer shackle. Would it have been easier to simply make a longer shackle? Yeah, maybe, but what's the fun in that? And the other thing is that these shackles, the way they were installed, you can't get them out. This shackle is made, it's not just two bolts running through there. This pin is fixed in this plate, and it was pushed in from the other side, and then the removable plate was on this side. Well, if you took that plate off, you couldn't push that shackle out that way without dropping the spring right out of the car. So we disconnected it up here and turned the shackle around and decided to go ahead and lower that mounting point. And that compressor's annoying even outside. Now we can see on the other side, we did a little science experiment and went ahead and put a spacer in there. We put a 1/2 inch piece of high density plastic in there just as a quick and dirty spacer to space that down, just to see what the effect would be. And I believe it's going to give us, another 1/2 inch or so of tire clearance. I don't want to jack the thing up in the air. It'll make it look like a jackrabbit, but at least we learned that would work. Okay, let's see what we're doing here. We're looking at the light to begin with. Okay, so what we have is our bracket there with our spacer made to fit, and that's 5/8, so that's going to be a little thicker than the other side. And we found some longer bolts. They might be actually a little bit too long. We'll see, and see if we can get this bolted up and see what the effect is. Oh, get tilted. Okay, so we got our upper spring perch bolted in there with our 5/8 spacer. Now all we got to do is get the shackle back in. And so there you have it. Get the shackle back on. Got the nuts to the inside so we can take it off again if we have to. And we blocked that mount down 5/8 of an inch. What we're gonna have to do now, tomorrow since it's dark out, is see if we gained any clearance at our tires.
Well, we got every tool known to man here. Grinders, saws, cut-off wheel. Got some more over there. And I'll show you what we're doing here in just a minute. So, the OG put this brace right in the middle of where your feet go. And it's just in the way. And it is bolted in there. So we got this part out. That piece of angle iron was there. There's another piece on the other side. I don't know if this is C-channel or box tube. But this particular piece had 15 bolts holding it in. Between bolting it to this and bolting into the floor, 15 bolts for this. Same number on the other side. So 32 bolts. And essentially what it's doing is stiffening up the floor. There's a factory stiffener underneath, and he's put this right over top of that and then bolted through the floor, I guess to stiffen the floor up. I don't know. But the doggone thing is right where you got to put your feet. And originally he had a piece of plywood over this, so it was all flat. But the problem with that is it raised the damn floor up almost 2 inches, and no room for my big feet. So I took the plywood out first, and then I tried, driving it. The problem is you end up with this gas pedal. Well, you're not really pushing the gas pedal like this. My foot's kind of in there like that, so your heel is on this piece, which puts your foot 2 inches up farther in the air, and then you're trying to get over here and put your foot on the brake, and you got to get your foot up on top of this thing. It's a nightmare. So I'm cutting it out. I don't think we need it. And to make matters worse, all of these bolts here were metric button heads. I mean, who does that? I got 2 more bolts on the other side to grind out, because otherwise I got to get up under the car and get arm extenders to be able to reach around, and it's easier just to grind the bolt down to nothing and knock it through the hole. So hopefully when I get those 2 more bolts out, I'll be able to get that piece out of there and have some room for my feet. Another day out in the backyard. It's nice and sunny, and we got all of that crap cut out of there finally. Every cut-off tool known to man. Plus I had to run out to the Harbor Freight store and get some 5-inch cut-off discs for my 4.5-inch grinder, just to get that extra little bit. But now we've got a clean, flat floor. Wow. And we're 32 bolts, 2 pieces of angle iron, and a piece of box tubing lighter. That ought to be something. So now we can see, I got my big ugly foot in there, my size 13 shoe, which doesn't help, but I can work the gas, and you can see my heel is right where that piece of box tubing was. So it pushed my foot up way up here. So at least now I can work the throttle, I can come over and work the brake, and of course my other foot, I got plenty of room for the clutch. I'm going to have to trim the corner of that clutch pedal, because with my foot on an angle like that, and that's just the nature of me being too big for this car. My fat behind is wider than my footprint, so my leg's in there on an angle. But if I just trim the corner of that pedal there, hopefully I can hit the brake without catching the clutch pedal. And right now the brakes need bled. The pedal's dropping down in between those two, and I can feel the pump up a little bit, but I really need to get that pedal up so all three of them are even going across there, and then you got gas and you got brake and of course clutch with your left foot. But at least now I have room for my feet, and I just need to get some tighter fitting shoes on, maybe like some spiffy driving shoes or something.